Okay, so how many? Can she just see the hands? Like raise your hand. The persons who are regular members of the Bhakti Vriksha group that gather once a week here. How many? Who's here from that category? Okay. Okay. So this class is for you all because what I was asked to speak about is for those of you who are kind of new, not totally new, but kind of new to Krishna consciousness, to just give an explanation of who is Lord Chaitanya. So the rest of you, I'll assume you know who is Lord Chaitanya. So this is for them, but you can listen. It's also nice to hear who's Lord Chaitanya. There's many ways to describe who is Lord Chaitanya, but I'll start with a verse from Brahma Samhita that describes one verse that describes the position of the abode of Lord Chaitanya. Maybe we'll start with this. There's a Sanskrit word avatar besides the movie. There's a Sanskrit word avatar that means one who descends from the spiritual world into this realm. In Queen Kunti's prayers, she marvels, she finds herself bewildered by the fact that Krishna, who is unborn, takes birth. It's a contradiction. Krishna has apparently a number of contradictions, but that's quite okay because everything that exists is within Krishna. So, apparent contradictions, they exist within Krishna. They're within Krishna. He's unborn and he takes birth. Because his taking birth is a pastime, he creates. I was just having my once annual discussion with my brother. I have an older brother. And his birthday and my birthday are one day apart. And every time we have a conversation, once a year, he reminds me. From the day that you were born and came home from the hospital, we stayed in a room together. Remember that? He didn't fail to say it again today. So, Krishna takes his birth, but in a very different way. Krishna takes birth. My brother was appreciating. I understand God as the source of creation. This is just during the conversation, a few hours back, on the way from the airport to Naperville. I understand Christ as the Son of God, and can you give me an understanding who is Krishna? I thought I told you this before, but that's the Father. He said, no. I said, yes. You're the Father. Christ said, God the Father hath sent me, and that's the Father. He's got a name. His name's Krishna. And just like Christ, is known for being in Bethlehem, Krishna was born in Mathura, and then he spent time in Vrindavan, and he spent time in Dwarka. You wanted to know what I've been up to. I said, I was just in Dwarka, a place where Krishna spent most of his life. So he was like a man, or he was like Christ, where he's God and man in one, or he's God. He said, he's God. The Bible says man is created in the image of God. That's God. He has a form. He has a post. That's God. He has a name. Like Mr. President has Barack Obama. He's got a name. And then this other guy that thinks he's going to become the president, he's got a name too. Infamous. Anyway, Hare Krishna. So Krishna, he is the source of everything. And he has an abode. He has an abode. He has a place where he resides. God isn't alone. We have a place, so why God doesn't have a place? I said this, my brother said, I remember when I was little, I was asked, Mom and Dad, where does he live? What do people do there when they go to God? What's it like? What's the travel advertisement? He said, nobody knew. Mom and Dad didn't. They just pat me on the head and said, oh, that's cute. He said, I remember. Said, you have a good memory. So, Golokanamni nijadamni taleja tasya Devi maheshu haridama suteshu teshu Te te prabhava nihitash vihitashchayena Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. In that verse, Goloka is the first word in the verse. Goloka Namni, that the abode, the eternal residence of Krishna is Goloka. And the structure of the universe is there's this realm, there's this material realm, there's the place in between the material and the spiritual realm, there's the spiritual realm, and there's the topmost of all of the abodes. Nice try. So Devi Dham, Mahesh Dham, Hari Dham, and Goloka Dham. And this Goloka Dham is the abode of Krishna. And according to Brahma Samhita, there's 4 divisions or quadrants in that Goloka. 3 of them we're quite familiar with. Where Krishna performed his pastimes in this realm, that's just a facsimile of, it's a nice word, right? A facsimile of, it's a fact copy of, it's a replica of Goloka, Vrindavan, Mathura, and Dwarka. But there's another place in that same Goloka, the upper Goloka, the topmost planet of the spiritual sky, and that's called Svetadweep. Sweta means white, and Dweepa means island. Svetadweep is one of the 4 parts of Goloka, and in that Sweta Dweepa, there's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And from that spiritual world, there's forms of the Lord that descend into this Devi Dham, the material creation. Those are called avatars. They have their existence beyond the universe, and yada hi dharma shaglani, from time to time when there's discrepancy in dharma, srajamyaham, avatars appear in this world. And then amongst all the avatars that appear in this world, one is, the Sanskrit term is avatari. That's the source of the other avatars. We just had really nice gathering in central New Jersey with a japa retreat, and we were discussing the process of surrender to the holy name, taking shelter of the holy name, and following Jiva Goswami's teachings on this topic. Right from Padma Purana, there are 6 symptoms of surrender, or angas, and of them one is the yangi. Same Sanskrit use of terminology. One is the limb from which the other limbs come. It's the root from which, the tree grows, or the plant grows, or the process of surrender germinates or originates. So that's Goptritve. We accept Krishna as our maintainer, and side by side as he's our protector. So, giving ourselves to Krishna, that's the Angi, and then he's our maintainer, he's our protector, he's our well-wishing friend, similar to what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. We accept things favorable, reject things unfavorable, we approach with humility. We give ourselves fully to Krishna in his loving service. So, of all the avatars, one is the avatari. And the avatari of all the avatars, the Srimad Bhagavatam teaches us, is Swayam Bhagavan Krishna. Swayam Bhagavan Krishna is that original feature of Krishna. That's the avatari, from which, from the beginning of that chapter, the Purusha avatars expand. That's the forms of Vishnu, dealing with the material creation, into which the avatars appear. You have to have the place for them to appear before they... So, Lord Vishnu has that function. It's one of the expansions of the original Krishna. And then from those forms of Vishnu, there are avatars that appear within the realm created by Vishnu. And of course, Brahma. The Guna avatars, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, and so forth. The Leela avatars, very popular, known forms of the Lord that perform wonderful pastimes, Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, etc. Buddha, Kalki, Vamana, Parashuram. And Krishna and Balaram are listed as Leela avatars. Those of you that know and when we sing our Nrsimha prayers, it's one of the Das Avatar Stotras. Very famous sets of songs glorifying the Leela avatars by Jayadev Goswami, very ancient. And we sing every time we have arti at our temples all around the world. Nrsimhadev is one of those Leela avatars, and etc. But amongst all of those avatars listed from Srimad Bhagavatam, Sutta Goswami says one is the source of them all. And that one that's the source of them all is Swayam Bhagavan Krishna. And his abode is Goloka. And it has these different divisions. Vrindavan, Mathura, Dwaraka, and Swetadweep. So that's a mysterious... It has its mystery. But especially mysterious is the abode of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because his identity is quite mysterious. He's called the Chana avatar, or hidden avatar. And he hides himself in the following ways, plural. One is, when he appears as a devotee of Krishna. He doesn't appear as Krishna. When the other avatars appear, just as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Pritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam dharma sangstapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. We all know that verse. Krishna does those things, and for the those who are duskritis, or the asuras, or the Kamsas and Ravanas and Hiranyakashipus, he destroys them. He has his astras, and he destroys them. Even Hiranyakashipu uses his nails and he bifurcates Hiranyakashipu. But Lord Nrsingadev doesn't do that. He doesn't destroy demons. And oddly enough, he appears in the worst of the four yugas, Kali Yuga. But his astras and his upangas, there's a nice verse in the Bhagavatam that describes the avatar for Kali Yuga. Sangha, he comes with his associates and his the devotees that engage in Sankirtan with him, in short, his dear devotees. And rather than destroying the demons, he destroys the demoniac mentality through distributing mercy. And the primary means of distributing mercy is congregational chanting of the holy name. That's the Yuga Dharma for this age of Kali. It's the primary means of purification, as with each of the four ages or four yugas. There's a primary means of achieving perfection. Meditation in Satyayug, performance of Vedic sacrifice, yajna, in Dwarpayug, just like during Ramchandra's time, the sages were engaged in yajna. In Dwarpayuga, opulent deity worship. And in Kali Yuga, the congregational chanting of the holy name. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as in his feature as a Yuga avatar, it's one of the 6 categories of avatars, he appears to give this congregational chanting. But amongst all the avatars, he is also avatari. Because, so this is a discussion about who is Lord Chaitanya, he's not just an expansion of Krishna, because Krishna has unlimited expansions. There are expansions of Krishna. The first expansion is Balaram, and Balaram then expands as the other features of the Chaturvyuha, Sankarshan, Pradumna, Aniruddha, and Vasudeva. And then next expansion is the expansion of Lord Narayana. And then in Vaikuntha realm, the second Chaturvyuha. And from the second Chaturvyuha, Sankarshan in particular, the expansion of the Vishnu form. So these are the description in Brahma Samhita. We could say the verse, but it's likened to lighting a candle from so many candles, like we do on Diwali, or Damodar Astakam. One lamp, everyone takes a lamp, and so many lamps lit from one lamp. So the so many lamps, those are the expansions of Krishna, and Krishna is the original lamp. Swami Bhagavan Krishna. He's the original lamp from which all expansions come. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not an expansion. He's Krishna himself. Different than an expansion of Krishna. He's avatari also. And Chaitanya Charitamrita, towards the very beginning, you can read it. There's a whole chapter that expands this one verse. It's a very beautiful sounding verse, even if you don't know Sanskrit, if you just hear the sound. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Ladini Shakti Asmat Ekat Manav Api Bhuvi Pura Deha Beda Gatau Tau. So that's the first half of the verse. And the first half of the verse says, Radha and Krishna, Eka, Radha and Krishna, that is one entity, eternally manifest as two. Pura Deha Beda, Beda means different, two forms. One entity, two forms. eternally, manifest like that. That's Vrindavan, Radha and Krishna. And in Dwarka, it's Rukmini Krishna, or Satyabhama Krishna, or the potent and the potency, just like the sun. There's the sun and there's the sunshine. And you're not going to find sunshine anywhere without the sun. You're not going to find the sun anywhere without the sunshine. They're inseparable. But they're two entities, two manifestations of one entity, I should say. Sun and the sunshine. So Radha Krishna, Rukmini Krishna. Two forms, but one entity. That's the teaching, the Siddhanta. Then the second half of the verse explains when those two forms manifest as one form, that's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We'll say it the other way. Who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Radha Krishna in one form. It's Krishna himself manifesting the bhava, the mood of love of Radha for Krishna, and the duty, the luster of Radha. So what's the luster of Radha? Golden. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is golden. Therefore, his name is Gora Anga, where his angas, his limbs, are golden, Gora. Goranga. Goranga Mahaprabhu. Who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Radha and Krishna in one form. Krishna in the mood and the luster of Radha. That's who he is. And what he does, according to Chaitanya Charitamrita, is he has external things that he does. He delivers the Yuga Dharma, propagates the congregational chanting of the holy name during his lifetime, and gave power or potency to others to do the same. There's a wonderful description where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited a certain place in now West Bengal, but then Bengal, where a future devotee would appear. The description is, he consciously and purposely deposited his prema, as in the mood of Radha has prema for Krishna, he deposited in the sacred river this prema, so that later one young future acharya would enter into that river and receive the gift of prema from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who later became a great acharya. In the mood of Radharani, great lover of Krishna. He just became transformed by that mystical gift from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he gave love for Krishna to whoever would receive it. And the qualification to receive it is indicated as adau shraddha, just some little faith. When for example, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after accepting the sannyas order of life, because he lived the first 24 years as a young Brahmin, and as a young Brahmin in a dutiful way, mother and father, Jagannath Mishra and Sachi, they had him become a grahastha. He became married, had no children. And at the age of 24, there's many details, but at the age of 24, he accepted the order of sannyas. Pretty young age to take the order of sannyas. And his mother, he had love for Krishna. He wanted to go to Vrindavan. Mother said, just one request. Don't go to Vrindavan. Because you go to Vrindavan, I may never hear of you again. And I've already lost my husband, and I lost the first 6 children, And my eldest son has died, and now you're the only one left, and you've taken sannyas. So please don't go to Vrindavan. I may never hear of you again. Go to Puri. Krishna's there. And many devotees from Bengal, they go to Puri for Rath Yatra. And at least when they come back, I'll get word of you. And maybe sometime, from time to time, you'll come, as many people do from Puri, to take bath in the Ganga. And then maybe you'll come and see, and then see you again. So please don't go to Vrindavan. So he went to Puri at his mother's request. And shortly after being in Puri, he started a tour in South India. The excuse, the apparent reason for going was he wanted to find his brother, because his brother had taken sannyas when he was still a little boy, and he wanted to go find his brother, if possible. So, some delays because they didn't want separation from Lord Chaitanya, but finally he left. And as he was traveling, it's a beautiful description, the description of his giving love of God. As he would travel, he would, with his arms raised, with tears streaming down his eyes, singing and dancing and calling the names of Krishna. Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Hari Haraya Nama Krishna, Yadavaya Namaha, Gopal, Govindaram, Shri Madhusudan. An ecstasy of love of God. And when people would see him, because he was in the topmost stage of love for Krishna, just seeing him, their whole being became flooded with ecstatic love for Krishna. And they would start dancing and chanting, and Lord Chaitanya would go and embrace them. And they would become even more ecstatic and travel with him singing and dancing. And Lord Chaitanya would say, go back to your village now and give this gift to others. They didn't want to depart from Lord Chaitanya, but he gave some service to them, so they went back to their village. And just seeing them, because they were in such a state of ecstatic love for Krishna, others would also become filled with ecstatic love for Krishna. Multi-level marketing. And in this way, love of God spread throughout all of India, South India. The author of Chaitanya Charitamrita says, and gave examples. So he came into this world to give the chanting of the holy name, especially and particularly that kind of love that awakens within the residents of Vrindavan, the topmost of the features of love for Krishna. Because in Vrindavan, the sweetness and the intimacy is so great, they cannot even process his majesty even when he shows it, lifting Govardhan Hill and everything else that Krishna did that was showing his divinity. They didn't see his divinity, they just saw our wonderful Krishna without all the detail. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give that love of Krishna as found within the residents of Vrindavan. So those of you that are newer, if you haven't learned already, or maybe you've just learned, one of the prayers that we say when we offer the bhoga to the altar, the picture of Krishna or the deity form of Krishna, there's a prayer that we say to Lord Chaitanya. Namo Mahavadanyaya, Krishna Prema Pradayate, Krishnaya, Krishna Chaitanya, Namane Gora Twishe. Gora Twishe, his complexion is Gora. Gora Twishe Namaha. He's the most munificent, it's a nice word, it's even more than magnanimous, it's like superlatively magnanimous is munificent. The most munificent form of the Supreme Lord, because he is giving freely, even to unqualified, you name it, people, Jughai and Madhai and anybody, love for Krishna. Just say yes. Just please take it. Well, I'm not qualified. That's okay. Please take it. Well, I'm distracted. It's okay. Please take it. Please take it. That's what he came to give. So that's one of the important things that he did. He came for that purpose. And then there was an internal purpose. There were 3 internal purposes described very beautifully. This is Lord Chaitanya. As Krishna himself, Krishna wanted, having experienced the ecstatic love that Radharani has and exhibits in her love for him, Krishna wanted to experience that love that she has for him. And he's Krishna, he can do anything, right? Can Krishna do anything? But he couldn't experience that love because the abode of love and the object of love requires 2. So as the object of love, how could he experience the abode of love? Unless he became the abode of love. So he couldn't do it, then he did it. He did it. By accepting the mood of Radharani. So those 2 forms then manifest still as one entity, but one form. That's who is Lord Chaitanya. So to experience the love that Radharani feels for him, the happiness she feels in that love, and how she experienced the qualities of Krishna in her relationship with Krishna. Krishna wanted to experience that, and he did, as Srimati Radharani experiences towards Krishna in the form of Mahaprabhu. And there is an abode in Goloka, a portion called Svetadvip. That's where he resides. Those of you that are a little familiar, this is, not just for the very, very new people, but when we chant the Brahma Samhita prayers, those 2 verses at the end where the meter is much longer, Shriya Kanta Kanta Parama Purushalpa Karav Taravo Droma Bhunmis Chintamani. So those verses, among other things, are describing Svetadvip. It's describing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's hidden, so it takes an acharya to show there he is, over there, in those verses. It's Krishna in Svetadvip as Mahaprabhu tasting the love of Radha for Krishna. And he's very merciful. He's merciful in many ways, but one of those ways is, that Prabhupada would refer to, when Krishna appeared, he made a condition. What's that? Well, you have to surrender to me. Abandon all varieties of dharma and surrender unto me. Then I'll give you love for me. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't give a condition, just take it. Chant the holy name and take love of God. Huh? Freely, very liberally, very compassionately, overwhelmingly. And still some people said no. Or committed offense, and as a result of offense they couldn't receive. Then he still forgave their offense and gave them love of God anyways. That's part of his glorious pastimes. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is for the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, extremely important person to have some understanding of who he is and to offer prayers to for that mercy. because he very mercifully will help us go beyond our limited material conditioning, or limitations of material conditioning. And those that are in the line of disciplic succession from him are similarly gifted or empowered or given a power of attorney to give that same gift on his behalf. So this is the Sankirtan movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. ISKCON is part of that. It's part of this, using the metaphor that's in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the tree of devotion that was planted by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from the point of a seed to a creeper to a full tree with many branches and sub-branches. And that tree bears the fruits of love for Krishna. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the gardener who grew the garden, and he's also the cultivator, and he's also the distributor of the fruits. And he distributes the fruits in the marketplace of the holy name. And the only thing that he insists that there must be given to the fruit of love of Krishna. That's who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Krishna himself, not an expansion of Krishna or an avatar of Krishna, Krishna himself. Giving the Yuga Dharma, the primary means of achieving perfection. So whatever other shastric or dharmic or good activities that one may do, your occupation or your duties in family life or school or whatever it is, that those activities are to be joined with the chanting of the holy name, the worship of the deity form of the Lord, the reading of the scripture. Everything is to be joined with the chanting of the holy name. Through that medium of the holy name, everything by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy becomes very auspicious. So that's a little message on who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All right? I'm looking at him because he's the facilitator of the group. Any discussion especially from those of you that are part of the Bhakti Vriksha group and not just here for other reasons? Yes?
Sometimes I find it difficult to focus on like Krishna, the form of Krishna, the form of Lord Chaitanya, and like all of it together. It's like sometimes we can focus on like Krishna, the form of Krishna specifically for some time, and then I kind of like forget about Lord Chaitanya almost. And like sometimes like can think about Krishna, Lord Chaitanya sometimes and don't focus on the form of Krishna. Wondering how to keep it all.
Well, I don't know that there's an obligation that you think of them both simultaneously, other than the fact that they're not different. They're not different. The form is different, but the entity, the personality, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the source of everything in all expansions. They're not different in that sense. I'll say it again. I don't, you're expressing a difficulty in thinking of putting it all together, as you say. But the altogether is, they're non-different. Your focus may be going over here, or your focus may be going over there, but they're non-different. There's a wonderful pastime during Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela, where he went to visit one of his devotees to tell this devotee he was going to be taking the order of sannyas, and the devotee said, please don't go. And Lord Chaitanya said, well, I'll make a deity form of myself, and when you see the deity form of myself, you'll see me. So he had a deity form made. And then Lord Chaitanya said, now I'm going to go. And he said, well, if the deity form is the same as you, then you stay there and let the deity go. So Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda said, very well, we'll stand there and the deity can go. The deity started to leave. He said, no, it's okay, the deity can stay, you can go. Okay. So the deity stood and, no, you can't go. Back, and then he eventually realized they're the same. They're the same. So whether your thought is going to Krishna, which is fantastic that your thoughts can go to Krishna, and after some time your thoughts are going to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that's also fantastic. It's not enjoined that you have to, quote, put it together. They're not different. They're aspects of Krishna that are especially sublime, and they're aspects of Mahaprabhu that are especially sublime. But they're the same personality, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Is that all right? Yes.
Maharaj, when Gargamuni was naming Krishna, he said that Krishna appeared prior in 4 different colors.
3 different colors.
3, yeah, black. So white, red, and yellow.
Yes.
So who are yellow? You said is Gauranga Mahaprabhu.
Yeah.
It's white and
In the Satya Yuga, the Yuga avatar is whitish in complexion. In Dwapara Yuga is reddish in complexion. Treta Yuga is reddish in complexion. And Kali Yuga is yellow or golden in complexion.
we have names.
Yeah. There's different ones that are whitish in complexion. Kapila Dev was whitish in complexion. Hangsa avatar is whitish in complexion. Yagya, a form of the Lord named Yagya, was reddish in complexion.
But Maharaj, Gargamuni was speaking in Dwapara Yuga.
That's okay, no problem.
And he refers to yellow complexion.
That's okay, no problem.
This is,
He knows the scripture.
but yellow happens in.
He knows the scripture. In different ages. In different ages he's appeared in these other colors. The yugas cycle, don't they? So before Satya Yuga, what yuga was it? Kali Yuga.
So in every Kali Yuga Mahaprabhu appears?
No. Once in a day of Brahma.
So in the previous Kali Yuga Mahaprabhu didn't appear?
The Yuga avatar is not Mahaprabhu, it's not Krishna himself, Swami Bhagavan Krishna himself, none different than Swami Bhagavan Krishna who appears in Vrindavan. The Vrindavan pastimes of Krishna are once in a day of Brahma. Otherwise, it's Vasudeva Krishna. No Vrindavan pastimes. It's not that those knowledgeable in Scripture don't know of those pastimes, but Krishna doesn't exhibit them. please remember, these aren't just like historians, these are realized souls. Knowledgeable in the scripture, realized souls. They know these things. Okay. Anything else? You're making it really easy for me. Yeah.
Maharaj, you mentioned about the last two verses of Brahma Samhita, where Brahma is describing Shvetadevi. It was very interesting for me to hear that it was actually describing the abode of Mahaprabhu.
Well, there's other things that are there. It says that every step is a dance. Every word spoken is a song. You know, it's a delightful place. But it also mentions, you can read Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's commentary on those two verses from Brahma Samhita. It's there in his commentary.
So are those two verses completely describing the abode of Mahaprabhu? Or
No,
is it,
it's just a portion of them describing it. It's an indirect reference. It's a hidden reference that, you know, the gold miner, Bhaktisiddhanta, goes into the mine and pulls out some gold. See this, that's Mahaprabhu. Yes.
Maharaj, you mentioned about 4 dhamas in the spiritual world, like Devi Dham, Mahesh Dham,
No, that's
Hari
not the
Dham.
spiritual world. Devi Dham is this material creation.
I see, okay.
Devi. No, Durga. The prison house.
Okay. Then you said next one, Mahesh.
Mahesh Dham. And so that's not yet in Hari Dham, it's in between. Neither here nor there. It's his own abode. He has his own tattva, he has his own realm. Shiva Tattva has his own realm, Mahesh Dham.
Okay. So Mahesh Dham is not part of the spiritual world,
It's not part of the spiritual world.
in between.
It's a complex subject matter because Shiva Tattva is a complex tattva. He has abodes in 4 different places. Would you like to hear where they are?
No.
No? Okay. But the one that's referred to in Brahma Samhita is Mahesh Dham, that's beyond the covering of the universe. If you read in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Gopakumar travels through the coverings of the universe, and on the other side there's this light of the Brahmajyoti, and then he sees Lord Shiva coming with his associates, and they're headed to go into the material world to give some association. So that's Mahesh Dham.
Okay.
That's different than Kailash, because Kailash is in the heavenly region, and that's so Shiva Dham is beyond that. It's another one of his abodes, because it's another feature of him. I'll say that there's one at the very bottom of the universe where the Rudras, 11 Rudras that were expanded right after Lord Shiva appeared from the brow of Lord Brahma. There was expansion of 11 Rudras, and they started ripping up the universe. And one of them started chasing Lord Brahma to eat him. So Lord Brahma turned to the original Lord Shiva and said, "Stop these fellows. We just got started. They can go do some meditation in tapasya at the Mahakalapur at the bottom of the universe. And when it's time, they can do their devastation." So they do their devastation, the 11 Rudras. They get the signal from Lord Brahma, and they do what they do. They help destroy the universe. Mahakalapur. Mahakala, the great time, the destruction of the universe. That's one of the abodes of Lord Shiva, one of his expansions. And then there's Shiva Loka. It's complex. That's a spiritual planet. That's in Haridam, Sadashiva Loka. And then there's Shiva Loka, and then there's Kailash and Mahakalapur. These are all referenced to it in the scripture. He has different functions. All those functions are service to Krishna. That's what he does. In different moods, so different abodes, in different manifestations.
And then Haridham is part of the spiritual world.
Haridam is Vaikuntha realm. So in the vastness of the spiritual sky, there's spiritual planets. That's Haridam. According to scripture, within the Haridam region, the topmost of the Haridam region is Ayodhya Dham. And part of the reason or feature of Ayodhya Dham is it's more human-like, less simply awe and reverence. It's more, not exactly worldly, but transcendental human, transcendental feature. To think of the relationships that exist when Ram performs his pastime, it's not all this majesty. It's very human-like. It's part of the charm of Ramayana. The love of Lakshman, who was like a shadow of Ram, and so the whole thing. His loyalty to it. So where's the father of Lord Narayan in Vaikuntha? No such thing. No Hanumans in Vaikuntha. And Vanaras, and there's and Jambavans, and this Guha, that doesn't exist in Vaikuntha. So it's more, the sweetness and the intimacy is much greater. But it's still in the Haridam region. And then above them, the Haridam region, planets, Goloka, that has the different divisions.
And Shvetadham is one of those.
Shvetadvip is one part,
of Goloka.
1/4, you can say, of Goloka. And it's in a whirl, and then there's petals of the whirl of the lotus, and then the region outside that. Mathura, Dwarka, and Svetadvip. Look closely at the paintings, that like the first canto cover paintings where there's the spiritual sky, and over here is this cloud of the material energy, and then there's all these universes with Garbhodakshay Vishnu within each universe. Look closely at the world of the lotus, and you'll see over there is Lord Chaitanya and his Sankirtan party.
Let's take a look now.
Thank you. Yes.
But in the spiritual world, the four quadrants, in the four quadrants, there is also Artha, Kama, Moksha and all that. What are these things doing in spiritual world?
They're this nice question. Everything that you've heard the phrase, as above, so below. So if you're going to have something below, it's got to be above. But you can say the prototype, where time and karma and guna don't exist. And from that region, there's an expansion into this region. So we can connect with that region by properly following Dharma in this region. We can connect with that region. For example, this is Bhaktisiddhanta describing. I'm just repeating his words. That Nanda Maharaj in Goloka is showing Vaishyadharma. Now he has no duty to perform, he's a perfected being. But he's in the perfect form showing Vaishyadharma. Then there's Ugrasena in Dwarka. He's showing the perfection of Kshatriya Dharma. He's an eternal associate of Krishna in the spiritual world, and an expansion manifests in this world and shows pastimes. And he gets put in prison. There's no prison in Dwarka, in the spiritual world. Like that.
So Maharaj, in a spiritual world, when the Leela is happening eternally, is it like in a cyclical form, or?
Don't try to wrap your tiny brain around that one. No, meaning, how do you understand activities that are eternal? Because we only know activities that are past, present, future kind, not pastimes that are eternal. What's a pastime that's eternal? It's inconceivable. The mind can't expand that far. What Jiva Goswami says is, in the spiritual world, there's no past, present, and future. Time is eternal. And, not but, and for the purposes of Krishna's pastimes, there's a sense of passage of time, although there isn't. Yogamaya. There's a sense of the passage of time, although there isn't. And that's how we have spiritual activities that are eternal. Because just like, here we are, we're attending the Bhakti Vriksha gathering. And before we came here, we were somewhere else doing something else, and we're going to go somewhere else and do something else. It's past, present, future. That's activity as we know it. So what's eternal activity? We have no frame of reference to understand that. But we just accept it's eternal. And Jiva Goswami explains there's the sense of passage of time. It's the potencies of Krishna act for his pleasure. That's how it happens. Activities that have no beginning and no end. But there's a sense that there's the rising of the moon, the sun in the morning, and in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says in the spiritual world there's no need of sunlight, moonlight, or electricity. But there's a sun that rises and sets. And there's a moon that doesn't go through phases, it's always the full moon. Because it's for Krishna's pastimes. So it's a full moon. Everything happens for his pleasure. His potencies move according to his pleasure. Yes.
Alright, you mentioned there's a future Acharya who got the mercy from the river that
Yeah.
Chaitanya. Is that Acharya going to come? Or
No, Narottam.
Nothing that. And another question from Yatra.
Yes.
You mentioned the 108 queen, 16,108 queens in Dwarka.
Yeah.
8 queens were the Ashtashakhi from Vrindavan.
This is esoteric. You have new people in the audience here that aren't going to understand any of this. But yes,
8 and
16,100.
was 9, however.
No, 16,100. She's one of... Oh, I see what your question is. I don't have the answer. I'd have to go look carefully at it. Because it's explained in Vedanta Madhava, what you were just saying that I said, but the math doesn't work. Radha plus the Ashtashakis makes 9. And there's 16,108 queens, so what happened to the missing queen? back and look what Swami says. Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, you mentioned about person having faith to experience the love of God. My question is a two-part question, Maharaj.
Well, what I said specifically is even to make a little advancement in spiritual life. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Adao Shraddha, there has to be some preliminary faith to receive, even just to chant. Otherwise you won't chant. And then to advance further, then in maturing of that faith. Certainly, what you said, to achieve love for Krishna, there must be faith. But even to begin. Okay.
First question is, Maharaj, is the extent of reciprocation dependent on the extent of faith we have in the power of the holy name? The extent of the reciprocation that we get?
Well, yes and no. Yes, because it's obvious, and it doesn't mean, for example, a great devotee may feel they have no love for Krishna. Krishnadas Kaviraj felt, I have no love for Krishna. Mahaprabhu said, I have no love for Krishna. Otherwise, not seeing Krishna, how could I maintain my life? I have no love for Krishna. So there's the feeling, although they have faith, that they're not chanting properly or connecting with Krishna properly. And Krishna may not show himself, or it may appear to be something. You follow? And that doesn't mean that Krishna is not showing his mercy. It means it's a particular stage or category of, or mood of love between Krishna and his devotee. So that deserves a yes and a no.
Second question is, Maharaj, I sometimes feel that the faith that a person has, it's in turn dependent on the mercy of the Lord. It's not something one can cultivate by one's own endeavor.
No, it's something certainly we can cultivate. You act in knowledge and faith increases. Prabhupada writes it right in Bhagavad Gita, and it's something we've all experienced. Even in worldly things. You act in knowledge and faith increases. I'll give examples, but you act in knowledge and faith increases. You get some, when you have knowledge, and it's actual knowledge, not, theory, but actual knowledge, and you act on it, something happens. You get, when that something happens, you get a realization. When that realization comes, your faith increases. The example that's given in the Bhagavatam is by eating. Something happens. Strength comes to the body, your hunger is dissipated, and you're feeling satisfied. So when you act in knowledge, faith increases. So we can cultivate faith that way. Act in knowledge. And associate with those who have knowledge, and that knowledge potency that they carry will be conveyed to you. As long as you say yes, instead of no or maybe. Let me think about it. That's a polite no. Ladies over here have been very peaceful. Any questions? Okay. Yes.
Raja, I was asked why do we say Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the most merciful
Why not?
incarnation? You answered it today, but
I did. Specifically, because he's giving what no incarnation has ever even offered before, which is love for Krishna in the mood of the residents of Vrindavan. And he's giving it freely. Please take it. Whereas Krishna required, surrender to me and I'll not, I'll think about it, but I'll reciprocate. But Krishna, Lord Chaitanya did, that the only is just, with faith, accept it. That's all. Yes?
Maharaj, your answer to the question that Prabhu just asked, and then your answer to the question, the very first question that Prabhu asked.
Yeah?
That
Thinking of Lord Chaitanya and Krishna and balancing the two?
they're non-different, but then why is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu more approachable?
Because his mood. This is Kali Yuga. It's needed to be made very easy. Krishna appeared in Dwarka Yuga, and he established Dharma, but to get the fullness of that gift of Paradharma, or Krishna Prema, there's a requirement, surrender to me. And surrender to me means putting other standards or considerations of Dharma in a secondary position. There's the primary, surrender to Krishna, and everything else, you can do everything else, but it must not conflict with the primary. The primary takes precedent. So the willingness to do like that is Krishna's requirement. Now they're non-different, but Lord Chaitanya has exhibited a merciful feature that even Krishna didn't exhibit. Just take it. Because people in the age of Kali, who's qualified to even know what Dharma is or even give a hoot about it? For people in general, they don't know, and they don't give a hoot about it. If it feels good, do it. I was asked to speak yesterday evening at the University of Michigan program. There's a place, a Krishna house there. Why, option A and B, striving for spiritual well-being by following a spiritual teacher and spiritual teachings versus pursuing spirituality by it moves my heart and I feel inspired this way. Similar. So Mahaprabhu didn't say just if it feels good. He just, just bestowed it. Like that example I gave of traveling along the roadway, a pathway, just singing and dancing, and people wonder, who's this? They never saw him before, and just by seeing him, they became filled with ecstatic love for Krishna. No surrender to Krishna involved. Just see him. And then he went and embraced them. He didn't say, well, I'll embrace you if you surrender to me. He just embraced them, and they, like that. So, freely munificent. Although it's the same person, it's yet another feature of compassion or mercy or munificence. Like that.
So just for my clarity, is it okay to say, even though Krishna and Mahaprabhu, they're not different, but the way to approach them could be different, is different?
Well, yeah. Yes and no. Because what is it that Lord Chaitanya is giving? He's giving love for Krishna. And making it easy. Most easy possible way. Now we still, as followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we read Bhagavad Gita. And that's one of our favorite verses. Sarvadharma Parijajya. And it guides our life. We decide, we make decisions all the time about what is our duty, and we should be guided by that verse. The pursuance of duty is for that one purpose, to come to the position of shelter of Krishna. So we're cultivating over here receiving the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. At the same time, we're being guided by the teaching of Bhagavad Gita. So it's not exactly what you said. And if we were very elevated souls, which we're not, we could just chant Hare Krishna and Hare Bol. That's all we need. We don't need any Bhagavad Gita. We don't need. You don't even need to. You don't need it. We need it, and it's given to us, side by side. Yes.
So Maharaj, is it because
Is what because?
that Lord Chaitanya is so much merciful and it's so easy to I mean, he's giving the love so freely without any condition, and while Lord Krishna has the condition of surrender, is it because Lord Krishna came in Dwapar and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came in Kali Yuga, and we are a lot more fallen now
Yeah.
than that time, and
Yeah.
we don't have capacity really to even surrender?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Raj, I have a question. Because since Mahaprabhu,
I'm going to repeat the question for the people in the back.
since Mahaprabhu is the Kali Yuga avatar, how come, why it's so hidden? Why, like, why there are so many temples of Krishna and not Mahaprabhu's,
Why, if he is the Yuga avatar,
Kali Yuga?
Kali Yuga avatar, why more people don't know? Why Chana avatar? I mean, people need a lot of mercy in the age of Kali. So what's the Chana program for? I mean, you need broadcasted program. Well, that's the service for us to do. Chana in the sense, literally, because he doesn't exhibit his astras. He doesn't kill the demons. He doesn't do those things. He doesn't. When people would say, "You're the personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu," he would cover his ears and run into the Ganga, saying, "Vishnu, Vishnu, Vishnu." It's an offense to call it Jiva, Vishnu, Vishnu, Vishnu. Let me purify myself from hearing that sound vibration. Because his teaching was, here's how a Jiva develops love for Krishna. So he was hiding his divinity. At the same time, there were pastimes where he clearly exhibited his divinity. He showed his form of Radha and Krishna and the six-armed form and so forth to different devotees. And that came to be known later, towards the end of his pastimes or after his pastimes, those events were disclosed. But he wanted, instead, to people understand how to take this chanting of the holy name and develop love for Krishna. And this is my sense. It's a very elevated subject matter. Not, it takes some refinement to understand. So first the refinement, please, and then the understanding of his divinity. So without understanding his divinity, there's the congregational chanting of the holy name. It's something like, not the same, but it's something like when Prabhupada left this world, 1977, people didn't know who he was. They knew the Hare Krishna movement all over the place. They didn't know Prabhupada, but he's the one that, started the Hare Krishna movement all over the place. He kept himself in the background and put Krishna in the foreground. The Hare Krishna mantra. Mahaprabhu. The interest was not, the salvation was not his divinity, the salvation was the name. Now those that come to know closely about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, their appreciation for him will grow. That's nice, that's why we're doing what we're doing. But all of us are already chanting Hare Krishna. We're receiving the benefit of that gift which he gave. Not completely yet, but the benefit of the gift that he gave. And now understanding the gift giver. So our gratitude can go to him as well as to the name. Okay, the natives are restless, and I think they win. Srila Prabhupada
Ki jai.